Hey everyone, this is our second installment of our AU podcast. Again, I am Via McGriff,
And I am Leon Ireland.
and we wanted to talk about just the level of play. We've seen a couple things, and we've seen it since we started coaching and since we started Athletes United, but even more heavily in the last couple weeks with both our basketball team and football team, which are really comprised of different kids.
And mostly it's, not just the parents, but programs around this area, they baby the kids and fact of them coming back, so they think that, okay, by us, being soft on them or whatever, it'll give them, want them to come back or something like that. But, what we bring to the table is we want more, we're going to go hard on them no matter what. And it's just we go hard on them to bring out the best in them. And most, organizations don't do that. And
Well, and see, we're like in a little bit of, we're in agreement but disagreement at the same time. I strongly feel that it starts with how you teach your kids at home in general. When you're playing competitive sports, you can see there's a clear difference in kids that really just get it and kids that don't, whether it's their background, but it always stems from the home life. And I feel that a lot of it is how we teach our kids to come out of certain situations or when they're dealing with a difficult task and not just with sports.
you know, we were not really in a disagreement because I know it's what you learn from, you know, when you're first able to pick up those abilities to learn. Like me with my son, you know, I got him on a consistent uh, pattern of just homework, uh, reading, and then he can go do. Since he's been on that same pattern, it became neutral to him to do those things every day. So within football, if you start, early at those things, then you're able to pick it up and learn better, and it become, neutral doing that.
So
And
structure and
exactly
routine.
right. And so, like, some of these players growing up, who to say that they're gonna be football stars or in the NFL, NBA, or whatever, they got to find what they like. So if they're not in a competitive sport yet, then they won't know really, what they like. And starting at this age, younger, I mean, well, this age here is will be like fourth grade, fifth grade ball. Here is where they first start to learn competitive. So it's easing them in, you know.
But here's the issue that I have, and I think we're kind of veering off topic a little bit, but let's go to the participation trophies. We get to championship, and every team gets the same medal. There's not like really you can say that this is the first place and the second place team, but it's the same medal. Everybody gets the same medal. These kids don't care about that medal; they throw it away. I remember when I got trophies and stuff like that. I still have those trophies because they actually stood for something. It actually portrayed the level of work that my team and myself put into that year because we weren't getting the same thing. You actually had to work for something like that, not just here's a plastic necklace.
Yeah, I see that too. Like growing up, we got big trophies, like something best linebacker, best quarterback, and it's more. I think in this league, it's more into funding, and
Hmm.
they don't want to put out more than you know really what they have. But uh, what we did last year, we got our kids trophies, and and it meant something to them. It's something that they won't lose. It's something that they can stand up there on that nightstand or on that trophy case with your parents' trophies or whatever. and this year I plan on doing something more special with my kids, like probably you know, most valuable player or team leader
And not everybody on the team
will get it.
gets an award. It's really an accolade that is earned by the kids that earn that. And that is the problem. And it is a problem, and it becomes a problem all the way across with a lot of different things. And I've heard parents say there's just different kids meant like that are built for different things. Not every kid is built for competitive sports. Let's just be real. Not every kid is built for that. And that's okay, but that's why there's a separation of recreational sports where kids can go play for fun and have an extracurricular activity, maybe get a little exercise. Great, great. But then you have this caliber of kids that that want to get better, that want to compete, that want to prove that they earned that position on the team, that take it some type of way when they lose, that when they play a competitive team, they want to step up to the plate. But those kids, you can't foster their ability, you can't nurture their ability, you can't help that grow if they're mixed in with these kids that don't care. Because on this team that we have, to specify an issue, we got about 3 or 4 kids that really understand what it takes to be competitive, that do a little extra work on the side to be better, that come to practice thinking of what they can do to be better, that want to go in with a winning attitude. And when you play a hard team like the team that we faced last week and we're challenged, when you only have like 10% of your team showing that type of drive and ability, it's not enough to lift the entire team to compete at that level. And then their level of play starts to go down because they have nothing more to be challenged against.
That's true. I'm gonna fly with you on that one because most players they used to last year everybody had to be a captain, but
It's not earned.
this year I don't play with that. If those players that's putting in that work is going to be the captains. I'm not, just not no favoritism, no nothing. It's just the kids that's working hard and that I see that these other coaches see, and you know that baby and I just can't do it. I've grown up having to earn it, and my kids is gonna earn it, and just like the trophies, they got to earn it. And
And what are we really doing though? What are we really doing when we give them a bunch of, when we say that it's okay, you did a great job, and you didn't? What are they really
we'll
learning?
see you next year.
Yeah.
You
Okay,
know,
great. Give me your money. Let's play. And that's like, that's like the main thing. We have an opportunity to take some kids to a great competitive tournament. And again, we have parents that want to go because they want to go for fun. But here's the thing that I'm hearing a lot. Well, why would I pay for them to go if they're not going to play? Well, okay, I get that. But how about this? If your kid has an opportunity to be better, you're willing to put money into all these sports that really don't help them grow. It's a hit or miss whether or not you get a good coach or a good coaching, you know, model. It's hit or miss. You never know what you're going to get with these programs. You never know. One year you could have a great coach that teaches you great things. The next year you go to a coach that is like, "Hey, everybody, let's play sharks and minnows and chase each other around the field." And then you lose everything that you lost from the coach that actually cared. There's a huge difference in that. And then we're teaching kids, "Oh, well, you're not good enough. It's okay. You're going to play anyways." you know or I'm going to use my son as an example. He came home and was frustrated about something that was going on the team that was out of his control. I might have felt a little bit about it, but I'm not going to show him that. My job as a parent is to help him understand what he has control of and how to foster that ability. What can you do to improve what you have control of? Everything else is out the water. I don't give my son excuses to not be okay. I don't give him excuses to be mediocre. And at a young age, they start to understand the value of work and appreciate what the result that comes from it a lot more.
and another thing we having problems with is just like uh, having a kid, just being competitive. if you teach a kid, to work for what he wants, and then come on the field, and they want this championship, then they're gonna really try hard to get it. And that's what we have been having problems with this year is, kids not knowing what competitive ball is or what it is to work for. And my son, for example, he know what a championship is. And this year, I drill him up and down. All, not just my son, all the kids, drill him up and down. If you really want it, you don't have to work for it. This year, it's not everybody go to Autzen Stadium, or this year everybody don't play for a championship. And I don't know if we have to bring in the real definition of what a championship is. It's not just okay, you play this old regular game. It's something that you're gonna take on through your whole life. You know, Me personally, I've never won a championship. Never,
Really?
never. I never won a championship,
I have.
and I didn't got to many championships, but I've never won one. And it gets to me, to this day, it haunts me, And so I want these kids, everybody, if you learn early, the the what it takes in order to get there, in order to want, in order to work hard, then you will end up getting there and winning one. But it took me a while to know what it is to want something real bad and to fight for it and to work that extra miles in order to get it.
That brings me to another common excuse. It's not all about winning. Oh my gosh, if I hear that so many times. It's not all that. You're right. It's not. That's a misconception when you're judging a competitive coach. When you're judging a competitive coach, the competitive coach understands that it's not all about winning. We understand that it's not all about winning, but how you win, how you lose, how you walk off the field after you've lost a game, how you walk off the field after you've won a game. There's a big difference in that. And when you teach kids a winning mentality, which is different from teaching them that the only important thing is winning, but when you teach kids about having a winning mentality, they want to go for more. They know that they're capable of doing more. So when you coach kids to win, or when you're trying to build that type of caliber and that type of mentality on a team, you're forcing them to reach their full potential. We understand one thing that's great is you can have a kid that, yeah, he scored a touchdown. How did he score that touchdown? We could be playing an easy team, could have easily went this way and maybe ran a little bit harder. So yeah, that kid scored a touchdown, but he's going to come on the side. It's going to be great job. This is what you could have done better. Because we want kids to understand there's always, always, always room for improvement. There's always something more that you can do. There's always something more that you can do to get better. And that's the difference between the guys that make it to the NFL and the NBA is they're never just satisfied with being the best on a team. They're never satisfied with having a winning record. They're never satisfied with just that. They know and understand that there's somebody else somewhere that's shooting for the same thing, that's working for the same thing, and those little bits and pieces of work that you do outside, the little bits and pieces of push that you get from the coach that actually cares, that's what makes the difference in the kids that make it further and further in whatever sport they decide to play.
That brings to the point where, losing, I mean, nobody wants to lose. But like she said, it's how you lose. If you lose not trying, then that's where it's a problem. And we went through phases like that, a phase like that, where all these other teams was cakewalk, and then we meet a team that built up wasn't really the best, and I felt that we could have blew them out, but they put them to test early in the game, and we backed down, and that was something that, at home is mostly where that's learned, but, we can't be on the field and play for those guys. And some wants to fight, some don't want to fight, it's like being picked on at school, you know.
Sorry, my bad.
It's like being picked on at school, like you go get picked on so much, and those that tired of getting picked on, they end up fighting back, and that's just something that got to be repeatedly. You take can't take being bullied for so long before fighting back, and in our case, even though it only happened once, they just got to be, not only the coach, but also the parents have to tell them, you can't just take it for so long. You got to fight back.
If you really think about it, the coach only has minutes, couple hours out of an entire day to influence that type of behavior, which is why I say it comes from home, it comes from school. In school, the school system now, they've taken away sports as an extracurricular activity. We used to do archery, we used to do, and our PE instructors would tell us archery, we teach archery to teach balance, control, patience. But these are all different things, and it's really sad because here's my issue. You get the kids that parents will get mad because they're not getting any better. So that's the first issue. Parents get mad because they're not getting any better. But then when you push them to their limits, when you push them to work for something, now we've pushed too hard. Well, how do you expect somebody to get better unless they're challenged to get better? And that's the difference, is if you want your kid, if you want them to be babied, if you want them to just be told pretty fairy tales all the time, then put them in recreational sports. Flag football, put them there. You know what I'm saying? Put them there. But if you really want your kid to get better, then you have to force them to challenge themselves. They have to be challenged on a team. My son's in third grade. He's playing up. He's been playing up a lot. And he could have stayed down and been a star of that team. I don't want that, and I don't want that for him. And people are like, well, why not? That's going to boost his ego. For what? For second grade football? That's going to boost his ego because he was a star of a second grade youth team. What is that going to do for him? What is that going to teach him? So I would much rather put him on a team that's going to force his ability, that's going to challenge him and make him step up to the plate. He's going to work up to that. And then if he can be a star on that team, then that says something. That says something about a kid and their talent. Anybody can go on a team and be the highest caliber of player and just be balling out of control. And what? And that's what happens when we face these teams. That's exactly what we see, is now these kids have to face teams that challenge their ability and they don't know how to step up to the plate because they're so used to just running over teams or just being the best player on the team. So now mentally, they're not mentally strong enough to accept that challenge. Anything else? Well, that is what we have to say. So the bottom line is if you have a kid that has any ounce of potential, put them in a program that's going to encourage that potential, that's going to help it grow. A lot of people say, well, they really don't know what sport they like. Okay, that's fine. They may not know what sport they like, but give them a fighting chance to figure it out and give them a chance to see what potential they can actually reach in each sport in order for them to really fully decide what sport they're good at, what they can be successful at, and what they actually really enjoy. If you put them in all these washboard programs, they're not really going to reach their full potential. They don't really know what it is that they're capable of. They won't even know what abilities they have unless you have the right people in place and you have the right amount of kids around that can help encourage that and help it build and grow.
I say go hard or go home.
Amen.
Don't waste time on something that might not be a possibility.
Hmm.
Either you go all in or get all the way out.
Yep.
With that being said, this is that you.
Have a good day.